Almost every pest control owner I know started out the same exact way. They're either knocking doors or running route. And they all thought the same exact thing. I can do this on my own. And that part is true. What comes next is typically where it falls apart. Hey guys, I'm Jonas, Olson, the founder of Pest Badger. I've been in the service industry for 17 years, and over the last 5 years, we've grown a pest control company from 1 location to 17 locations across 5 states. I use this channel to document how I think about building service businesses and what is actually working for us. I wish that my mentors would have documented their journey, so I'm documenting mine for you. To understand why scaling is hard, you first have to understand why so many people enter the industry in the first place. Let's be honest, most people don't get into pest control because they set out to build a pest control business or be in pest control in general. They get into this because they're already inside the industry. Like I said, some were knocking doors, they were selling pest control for someone else, putting in the work, and selling their commissions. Eventually they started thinking, if I'm doing all this work, why am I doing it for someone else? So what do? They go off and they start their own company. Others were technicians, typically at larger companies. Now they were running a full route and they saw how much revenue that route was producing, and they did the math in their head and they thought, if my route is doing this much, I can do this on my own. And early on, they're both usually right. They already know the service, they already know the customers, and they already know how to sell or service. That's why pest control feels so easy to start. The problem is none of that experience teaches you how to build something that scales. It teaches you how to produce. And this is why early success starts giving the people the wrong feedback loop. Early success in pest control can be very misleading. As you guys know, when you first start, you usually get a lot of quick wins. You have friends that sign up, you have family that signs up. You might even have customers that came from your old company who want to follow you over. Quick side note here, if your previous company had you sign a non-compete agreement, be careful with this part, but honestly, the point still stands true. Early on, the work comes in super fast. You answer the phone, you run the route, you say yes to everything, you knock doors, you sell, cash starts coming in, and this creates a feeling that the business is actually working. But what's really happening is you're running on relationships and effort. And the business works because you're so heavily involved in everything. And that works while it's just you, but it starts to break the moment you get people involved. Labor is the first real wall that most pest control owners hit. Technicians are hard to find. Good technicians are even harder to keep. Training takes time. Quality varies, and turnover in employees is a real thing. And pest control isn't a job that most people find sexy and plan on building a career around long term. That means labor requires leadership and systems. And without them, every new hire creates more work for the owner instead of leverage. And even if you do solve that labor problem, the next problem shows up in how the work is actually laid out. Hold up, quick pause. If you're on a pest control company or fertilization weed control company, you're not in our Facebook group, you're choosing the harder path. Every operator that's in there is skipping years of mistakes because people are actually sharing what's working right now. So stop trying to brute force your way through growth alone. Search Pest Control Millionaires on Facebook or click the link below. And now let's get back to it. As you guys know, route density is one of the most important, but also the most understood parts of pest control. And this is honestly where it usually breaks in 2 different ways. On one side, you're knocking doors. Your door knocking naturally creates dense routes. It's the same neighborhoods, same streets, and obviously on the same blocks. From a routing standpoint, it's really great. The problem shows up on the service side. A lot of door-driven business grows super fast, but the service consistently struggles. Technicians get rushed to do initials, training gets super thin, and then callbacks start to increase. And over time, churn just goes up. And those routes that were once discounted because multiple neighbors signed up start thinning out. The next quarter, next bi-monthly that you're going back to that same neighborhood, 1 or 2 of those neighbors have probably already canceled. Now you're driving out for one single discounted service instead of the tight block of work. Now let's flip it. On the other side, you're service first. You're great at the work, you have very little cancellations or callbacks, and the customer is super happy. But most of your jobs are coming from inbound leads, you have Google ads, maybe you're running, you have some referrals and a lot of organic calls, and those jobs just end up all over the map. Your drive time increases, your efficiency drops, but in both cases, revenue can look really good, but neither one scales without intention. And this is why growth starts to look fine short term, but doesn't hold up over time. Retention is where pest control either becomes scalable or stays super fragile. One-time services feel good early on, and a lot of people do that. Recurring revenue is actually what supports the growth, And a lot of owners don't realize this until they look a lot closer. You might have thousands of customers, but when you look at how many actually stay per year, the revenue isn't as predictable as you probably thought. Retention just doesn't happen automatically either. It requires a lot. It requires clear expectations, consistent service, good communication. Obviously, your scheduling is super important, so you don't have people canceling. And same thing with billing. It's got to be billed in a timely manner. Without retention, you're always rebuilding the same revenue instead of just stacking it top month after month. And when retention isn't solid, the owner usually steps in to stabilize things. And then this is where a lot of owners get stuck again. They never grow past that point of being a technician. They run the same route for years. They make decent money. They pay themselves, $90,000 to $150,000 a year, so super comfortable. And if that's the end goal, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem only shows up later. They go to sell their business and they realize that it isn't worth a whole lot of money. Or they hit their 50s and 60s and realize they spent decades working in the company, but never built something that works without them. They never built something to sell. I actually made an entire YouTube video around this called The Cost of Staying Small, because this is a realization that hits a lot of people later than it should. And this is where scaling stops being about pest control and starts being about leadership. Leadership in pest control doesn't look like motivation or any speeches or anything like that. It just looks like making decisions that you didn't have to make early on when you were smaller. It looks like holding people accountable instead of jumping in to fix everything yourself. It looks like letting a technician struggle a little bit instead of rescuing every situation, answering every single call right when he calls you. A lot of owners just stay in technician mode way too long. They think, if I just do it myself, I'll just get it done faster, or I'll just get it done right. And yes, that does work early on, but it just breaks when you try to grow. At some point, the most valuable thing that you can do isn't servicing your customers. It's deciding what gets built next. That means training, clear expectations, feedback that can get uncomfortable at times, which a lot of people struggle with. It also means you stop measuring your value and how busy you are, and you start measuring in how well your business runs without you while you're not there. And that is why pest control is easy to start and hard to close. I hope you guys took a lot of value in that. Make sure to leave some comments, and I'll see you guys on the next one.